Hi, welcome to another episode of Techbytes, the ServiceNow podcast that helps you use the product better and more efficiently. Today, I have three rock stars from the ServiceNow community here to talk about the community and what the community can do for you and how to be part of the community. Let me introduce these fabulous community members. First, we have Bianca Vaccarini. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Suzanne.
Bianca is our social media relationship manager. She has been at ServiceNow for 2.5 years, and she has a fabulous 11,000 points on the community. If you are on the community at all, you have probably seen or talked to Bianca. She's very critical in the community. I also have Mani Kanta Korada here. Hi, Mani.
Hey, Suzanne.
Mani is an associate developer on our customer support automation team. He's also very active in the community. He has probably answered several of your questions if you're on the community. And I have Cory Seering here. Hi, Cory.
Hi.
Cory is a staff software engineer here at ServiceNow. He's on our platform development team. And like Mani, he is very, very active in answering questions and helping people out on the community. So what we'd like to do today is talk to these folks and ask them how customers that are participating in the community can really use the community to their full advantage and participate and get questions answered and be part of this growing, exciting, vibrant community of ServiceNow users. The community debuted back in 2008. It has gone through several platform changes. It has looked a little different over time. And to better explain kind of everything that you can do on the community, I'm going to ask Bianca to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been on the community since 2013, so I haven't been there the whole time since its birth. But the community has really grown, especially in recent years. It's really become the place for about our 55,000 community members to really just hang out, ask questions about implementing the product, ask questions about support and customizations. It just is really the hustle and bustle of everything ServiceNow. You'll find prospects, partners, customers, employees on there, people who are trying to be certified, who are going through the trainings. Really, the content on there just runs the gamut of anything you can see. For users who are asking questions, about every month you can get anywhere from 400 to 500 solutions, workarounds being offered by awesome people like Mani and Cory. Especially if you are one who has a lot of questions, and maybe you don't want to have to submit incidents or pick up a phone and call somebody like me. I'm definitely a searchaholic. I will search like crazy before I bother calling anybody. You can get a lot of great input from the community just because there's so many experts on there, both ServiceNow and from our partners, and our employees are awesome. And we're just on there trying to help everybody out.
And this is 24/7 customers, ServiceNow employees, partners from around the world are on there.
Mm-hmm. Everybody. And, from America to Asia, really, it's everybody is on there. So you'll see questions being asked at all times of the night, responses being picked up at all times of the night. And it's really great just because, we have so many people in ServiceNow who are across the globe who can kind of address these problems even when, let's say, our two awesome experts sitting right here can't handle them.
That's great. It is 24/7 happening place all the time. I want to throw it over to Cory because he did a great blog post not too long ago on the community that really spoke to a subject that's so critical and one of the core functionalities on the community, and that is asking questions and answering questions. And as someone who answers a lot of questions, Cory did a great blog post about how people can ask their questions so they're more likely to be answered quickly. So can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit and give people some of the best practices when asking questions so they're more likely to get a quick, decisive response?
Sure. So that blog post came about because I saw some really interesting questions start coming up on the community. And when I worked in support here at ServiceNow, I would have immediately fired back 15 or 16 questions in the incident to get more information from the customer. Or would have hopped into the instance and been able to check stuff out. And on the community, where you don't necessarily have that visibility into what's going on in the customer's instance, you really need to be upfront about it. And the nature of the community is somebody posts a question, they're not necessarily right there ready to give you the answer, especially if you have you need to dig deep or you need multiple bits of information before you can even start answering the question. So yeah, I wrote up a blog post about the sorts of information that you need to include. Um, where you need to ask yourself whether the problem you're having is a server side problem or if it's a client side problem. What have you changed recently? How do you reproduce the problem? What do you see and what do you expect to see? Like those are really the main points. You know, what have you changed recently? How is something going wrong? Because saying something's not working isn't very helpful. There are an infinite number of ways something can't work. So the specific way that it's not working, really important to know.
How important is it to include version information?
Version, very important, especially with how often the UI changes or the defaults change. The product is constantly improving. We're changing stuff all the time. We're putting in like new business rules, new features. We changed the way stuff works. Just recently, knowledge got changed, knowledge base. You know, so if you're having a problem in knowledge base, is it the old knowledge base or is it the new knowledge base? Did you migrate the data? Did you create it from scratch? And getting that information up front lets the rest of the community think about the problem that you're having, figure out what could be going wrong, and then start offering solutions. If they have to get that info from you, you're just prolonging the amount of time until you actually get a useful answer.
How useful are screenshots when people ask a question?
Screenshots can be very important. If you're asking a question about something that you're seeing, then show us what you're seeing. Likewise, if you're asking a coding question, put your code in there. You know, put your script in there. What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? And where did you get that script from? A lot of times, people will pull up a previous answer that worked for somebody else, copy and paste some code in, and possibly, if they don't go through it with a fine enough comb, they could miss changing variable names or something like that. So knowing where the code came from can really help figure out what you're trying to accomplish with it. Seeing it in context lets us actually figure out what the problems with it are.
Some of the most amazing discussions I've seen on the community center around a script, when somebody posts the script and other people jump in and they're like, oh, there's your problem right there. You know, and you're like, oh, thank you. And those have been some of the most dramatic discussions I've seen out there. And just by posting the script, someone else, another set of eyes on it, looks and goes, hey, there's problems right there.
That's incredibly helpful. I have posted scripts trying to fix other people's scripts and left in mistakes that then somebody else comes around and points out. So it's very important that sharing the actual code that you're having problems with, because otherwise you're relying on people to be psychic. You know, that's kind of tough.
That's kind of tough. Bonnie, do you want to jump in with anything here in this conversation about what people can do when they're asking those questions to make it easier to give an answer?
Yeah, that's what Cory said. Screenshots are very important, because we're not going to log into your instances or anything, so we can't see what you are saying. It's more of a visualizing what you're telling. Sometimes we might hit the ball in the first reply itself, like we might have fixed the issues, but second, sometimes it might take huge conversations, and it's always best to add screenshots and how much you can add whatever you want. And also sometimes, since we are working in different time zones, sometimes we might miss some of the questions. So it's always good practice to like tell us, like hey Mani, hey Cory, or hey Pradeep, can you just see this one, because we're in different time zones, so that when we come to our office, we will just say, oh, somebody having problem. We might not miss the question. That's also a good one.
Something to add on that too is definitely if you can provide all the information for the question from the very beginning, and Cory touched on this a little bit, it dramatically can improve the chances you're going to get an answer, because the longer it takes for the community to help you troubleshoot and figure out what the actual scope of the issue is, the longer chance it's going to be that you're actually going to find an answer to your question. So if you can provide those screenshots in the original post, what documentation you were looking at, include the script. I mean, how many times have you seen people, wondering what the heck is wrong when they don't even include the script? So the more you can include up front from the very first post, the better chance you can have of getting a full answer as soon as possible.
That makes searchability better in the future too. So somebody else who has the same problem that you have, they can come along, search, find your question, actually understand it in context and realize it's the same problem that they have, and then they don't have to go through the back and forth getting a solution because it's already there.
It's all there. And you, Cory, and Bianca both touched on search. How important is it what do you see as the relationship between people searching for an answer first in like the documentation, in the product documentation or the knowledge base, and maybe finding something but it doesn't have quite the correct answer? Is it helpful to you when they post a question if they can tell you what documentation they looked at or that they searched first?
Oh yeah. I'm not a product expert, but I do attempt to, answer some questions here and there when I can. And I use a lot of the product documentation, the knowledge base, and the community to try to help do that. So knowing what the customer or the user has already looked at definitely helps me at least, out the things that, they've already looked at. That way I'm not just redundantly saying the exact same things they already looked at. And then they come back with, oh, that's not very helpful. I already looked at that. So, if they let us know that I already looked at this product documentation or this knowledge-based article and it wasn't really helpful, I can kind of see if there's anything that we provide that supplements that.
So again, another thing to put in that initial question is a link to any documentation you looked at that didn't quite fill in the gaps enough, because that's going to help you. Or your reaction might be, oh, go look at this product documentation, and then their next response is, I already did that. And you're going back and forth.
That also helps. It helps figure out context. So I'm not a platform developer. I do persistence. We did Dev Studio. There are some core parts of the platform that I have pretty deep knowledge on, but quite a lot of the platform I don't get around to. I don't really build stuff in Service Catalog or CMS. So if you have a CMS question and I'm going to try to tackle it, it helps to know what you're talking about. And the documentation is a good guide for that. You might use a term I don't understand. If you link to the documentation, I can go read about it. And then when I know what it's supposed to be doing, I can actually go to the code, figure out how it works, and then hopefully provide a good answer.
It helps you in your education as you prepare to answer the question.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're talking about the things that people can do to make their questions more answerable. Do you see, other than incomplete information, do you see any other sort of ways that customers make it hard to answer their questions, or anything that people do on the community that, if they're new to the community?
What I see sometimes are very generic questions. You have a specific question that you need an answer to, but the wording of it is very generic. Or the subject might be, service catalog help, and that's not very useful.
That's pretty big.
Or you might ask a question like, how do I create an item? And there's the very simple answer to that. You go to this link, you fill out this form. But that's not really what you need the answer to. You're asking the wrong question. I see that come up a lot, and that's when people have to start probing for more information. It's all about that context and trying to really specify what you're trying to accomplish. What's the end goal that you're trying to get to? Because if we know your end goal, we can start pushing you towards it.
I think one thing I see a lot, especially for new members on the community, is the frantic need to post the same question several times in several places. And this gets a bunch of different discussions going, which is great for, whoever the original poster is, because, I mean, if 3 out of the 5 they post all have people discussing it, it's fantastic for them, but it kind of causes some confusions because it's like, okay, well, I'm seeing the same exact question posted so many times, and they're all saying different things. So which one is actually the correct answer? So, having that one quality post that is easy to answer definitely makes it a lot easier for our experts to really get in there and help troubleshoot, or at least point you to the right direction, rather than having a million posts going a million places.
That all might be a piece of the answer, but it's not all coming
Exactly.
together in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also to add to that, sometimes what I see is like people just post a script having problems with that script, but actually their goal is not to fix the script. Their goal is to have some business need. So if you just tell us like what exactly you're trying to do here, we can, maybe that's not the right way. We can give another way to fix the issue or to achieve your need. But I see many posts where people actually tell that, okay, this is my need and these are the 3 ways I have tried and these are my pros and cons. But at the same time, sometimes we see some posts where they say that I'm having an issue with the script, but actually once we fix the script, they will tell us like this is not serving my purpose. So instead of like, before only, if we see what's the purpose, we will at least stop them like, you're going in a wrong way or this is the right way, you're going in the right direction, so do like this. That would I would also add.
So it's better to describe what you need.
Yep.
And then maybe say, these are a couple of angles I'm trying to
I'm
come
trying
at
to
it from.
come-
What's your expert advice?
You're right, because it's not only us. There are many persons all over the world, because our product is so big. Tackling one simple business requirement, we can have like multiple number of ways, and we would like to get the best of those things. And every solution has a pros and cons.
Yeah. So we've been talking a lot about the discussions, posting questions, posting answers. When do you decide to take something from a discussion and turn it into a blog post? Or are you two mostly focusing on answering the questions?
For me to write a blog post, it has to be something I've seen a lot and it bothers me, or something that I feel really strongly about, because there's a lot of time commitment involved in that. Probably not enough given the amount of typos that seem to be present even after editing. But I'll spend half a day or something on it, and that can be a long time. So it has to be something I feel strongly about.
So when you're seeing a pattern,
Yeah.
you think?
A pattern, or somebody maybe promoting a methodology that's harmful or outdated. I want to get in there, or something, somebody talking about part of the platform that I wrote, and I just really want to get out there and talk about it, like Dev Studio. So that's what does it for me.
Yeah, there should be some blog posts for like whenever we upgrade to newer versions. Like, since our community is so large, we can see some cool solutions which work in lower versions but might not work in new versions, because we might have changed the back end of how it works. So sometimes, because as I'm in support, I see a lot of issues when people upgrade to lower versions to newer versions, and they take something granted like this will work like this, it will change. But while we evaluate, while we have new functionalities, or because of some known bugs, we want to fix them for the customer itself. So those might be changing. So people might use that one because it's in the community, so it's people will use. So, but it might be not useful when they go to upgrade. So we'll do some blog posts, or we'll do some KB articles for those ones. Like whenever you upgrade to Geneva or whenever you upgrade to Helsinki, be sure.
Yeah, the new release always brings a lot of new content across the board in all forms. When you're answering questions in the community, and you can also touch on, both of you have a lot of points because you answer a lot of questions in the community, and you do a great job, but we need everybody in the community answering questions, so it doesn't fall all on your shoulders. Can you take us through your process a little bit when you go in the community and you see the latest questions that are posted but not answered yet? Do you grab what you know? Do you grab what you may have seen a KB article written about recently? Kind of what's your process when you jump in there and say, okay, it's my community time. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to see how I can help people. What are some of your tricks for jumping in there and doing what you do?
Some of the tricks are like people post in different areas like service catalog, because I'm a support developer in automation, so I deal mostly with discovery and service catalog and workflows. So I will try to solve those issues first, because most of the issues I see in my daily life, in my day-to-day work, the debugging techniques. Whenever I see this is the issue, there are like two things which might commonly happen. So I will try to tackle them first. Some of them maybe we need to do some investigation, like I need to do something in my developer instance to see how it actually works. Most of them I see those questions in developer community to see how it works and everything. So we may spend some time for that one. It might take some time for us, but so that's why I will try to tackle those having having their issues which are in production, so that they can get the business running. We will try to solve as much as in the community. Otherwise, I tend to tell them that it's really affecting your business. Just open an incident with us. We'll look into you. That's how I do.
I used to just hang out in the developer community because that was mostly script issues that are not easy to answer, but more in my wheelhouse. And then I discovered the welcome page with just all the questions from newest to oldest, and you can filter on unanswered or unreplied and get in there early before like Pradeep has a chance to grab it and answer it, because that guy's prolific. And I look for anything that I think I have a reasonable chance of giving a good answer to quickly. So anything that's core platform, anything scoped application, I pick those up and try to answer them quickly. But then I also think like, I don't really know much about that. I'd like to learn. So I'll grab a question that seems like it might send me down a rabbit hole, and then I'll try to answer it. I think the favorite answer that I had last year was one where I just picked up a question about a UI macro, and I had no idea how that particular part of the platform worked, and just wrote out a really long answer of everything that I was doing as I was doing it. And turned out the answer was really simple and right where I started at. But it was really great getting down into that part of the system. So sometimes I grab those.
You anticipated one of my questions. I was going to ask both of you, is there a favorite question you answered or a favorite thread that you were a part of? Maybe it started as one thing and turned into another, but there were a lot of people on the thread.
So that one, it ended up while I was answering the question, while I was going through all of the processes of trying to figure out how to answer this question, it generated some discussion on the side, but I was busy. I was just, oh, here's this, so this is what I'm going to go look at. I don't really know what that is, so let me go to the documentation. Here's the documentation that I found, and I just found that writing that all out was a fun way to show how I answer a question that I've never seen before. So that one's my favorite because I think it best shows the thought process of how to answer a question.
And that was when you jumped in where it was a subject you weren't very familiar with.
Yes, exactly. It was one of those ones that I really wasn't sure where I was going to end up, and I think it worked out.
Manny, do you have a favorite conversation or any memorable threads?
Nothing. So since I come from a support world, my favorite one is like, I worked on a thread where people, I think the user has upgraded to Geneva initially, and it's like control availability, but he has got some really weird issue. Since we did not have an incident, but we went back and forth, and it turned out to be a product bug. So before itself, I just told all my support team members, this is like a weird product bug which you can face the issue, because it's like a one in a out situation, but still people, because after that I see like maybe like 15 to 20 incidents on that, and we knocked out like that. So that's a very good one for me.
And you do, I think, when you spend time in the community, you do get sort of strangely attached to certain people. You recognize certain names and certain people that you know have certain specialties, and you're like, oh, so and so's jumping in on this, or oh, so and so's jumping in on this. So it does form a community, even if you don't.
Yeah, like for some of the questions, when if I see like 10 replies to that one, I really don't spend time on that one, because I already see some experts working on that one. It's really not me. It's already experts are working on that one. They really don't need me, so I jump on to another question. So we already share that bond.
That one's covered. So and so's working on that, and then you can go on. But you start to get to know the personalities on the community, and who has specialties, and who's asking what. I think that's really interesting when you spend a lot of time in there, and it's people you might never meet in person, but you start to know the personalities.
Or you see them at a ServiceNow event and you're like, I know everything about you, but only from the community.
But only from the community.
Hi, I've answered like 10 of your questions.
At a user group or at the conference, that can definitely happen. I want to go back to Bianca for a minute, because you've been with the community a long time and sort of have the big picture on it. Can you talk a little bit about any community do's and don'ts, or any etiquette that you have seen that works well over these years? How to be a good citizen on the community.
How to be a good citizen on the community. I mean, really the same rules in life apply to the community. I mean, the internet can be a pretty cutthroat place. So I think there is a need to be upfront, and, if you need more information on a question, tell them you need more information on a question, but obviously don't be rude about it. Mm-hmm. In terms of do's and don'ts, be nice. Not everybody is an expert, so when you're responding to somebody, it's really important to think about, not everybody is as smart as you, or not everybody has been developing on the platform as long as you have. And so, I mean, just rules of the land.
Patience.
Patience, be nice, be friendly. Offer your hand if you can help. And if you can't, then there's no need to tell somebody that they have a dumb question or anything. Just, leave it there. Maybe ask for more information for the next person who maybe might be able to clarify. In terms of do's, I do want to encourage everybody to fill out their profile. There are so many floating heads on the community that are just like the Facebook silhouettes. I think it's so great when, I can go and see somebody's profile picture, as well as, the products that they're using, as well as any specialties that they might have in their profile, just because it gives it a little bit more personality. And I feel like I'm actually working with another human being as opposed to a Facebook silhouette. So profile is definitely a do for me. Being nice is definitely a do for me. Don't be mean. And just be helpful, because not everybody is as smart as you, and
or as experienced with the product.
Exactly, or as experienced as the product. And I see a lot of people start off a question with ServiceNow newbie here. And I'm like, you don't have to say that. It's okay. We're not going to judge you. We're an open community. We just want to help. Get you an answer as fast as you can, or at least use whatever question you have as, a little tinder to maybe start a knowledge base article, write a known error, maybe write a blog post. I mean, who knows? Your question could potentially help us, fill those gaps. So ServiceNow newbies, we appreciate you as well.
Cory and Manny, are you seeing in the questions you answer, do you see more newbie questions, or do you see more experienced, very specific questions, or do you really see a wide range out there?
There's a full range. There are definitely some incredibly experienced people with really nuanced problems. There are beginners who don't quite know how to formulate the question that they're seeking the answer to, or really just need a link to decent documentation about what they're already trying to accomplish. I've seen the full range, and you, you can just go look at the new stuff that gets posted every day, and you'll experience that. There's a whole range in there.
And there's room for everyone, from the newbies
Absolutely.
all the way to the very experienced folks.
Oh yeah. I almost I like the newbie questions, the simpler ones, because those other folks, you can end up spending several hours trying to track down some really complex issue. Don't always have time for that. So yeah, ask away. Whatever questions you've got, somebody's there to answer them or to give a stab.
Absolutely. I want to ask each of you if you have a favorite tip or trick in the community. I know what Bianca's is because she shared it with me a couple weeks ago, and it completely changed the way I use the community. Thank you. So Bianca, I'll throw it to you first, but Manny and Cory, think if you have a little tip or a trick or something in the community to share with folks.
So I work with a lot of our technical support engineers to help them, use the community better to create content. With that, I find a lot of people don't exactly know how to find all content across the community. So Cory mentioned using the front page to see, the recent stuff. A lot of people like to go to the different sections and search, based off of, the products that they know about. But for the different TSCs that I work with, they want to look at everything. So the biggest tip that I've found is like changes people's world is the ability to see all content regardless of space, regardless of topic. That gives you the ability to sort by the different content types, as well as filtering by date, creation, activity, all that. And that's if you go to click on your profile up in the top right, click on your content. And it was kind of backwards to think click on your content in order to see all content. But then on the left sidebar, there's actually a little button that says all. You click all and you can sort through all the content on the community and filter it as you see fit, as well as if you're looking for specific keywords, you can enter those in. If you're looking for a tag, you can also enter that in there, where some of the other search bars across the community don't give you that. This method does. And so if you're like me and you're constantly farming content from the community to see what you can create from it, this view has been ridiculously helpful.
I use it all the time now. Thank you, Bianca.
Anytime.
Monty, do you have a tip for us?
Yeah, so we all answer questions in our community, and many people sometimes they answer real good questions, and they don't get the credit because we sometimes forget to mark them as answered. But I see somebody having in their signature saying that if the answer helps you, just please mark it as helpful or answered. So I think that's very useful for people who are posting questions, because we tend to forget about okay, we need to answer it. If it's a newbie, they don't know that we need to mark it as. It's not like it's a compulsion. It's like giving credit to the people who are answering you. So that's a good one. Have something in your signature saying that if the answer is good for you, just mark it as answered or helpful.
That is a great tip. Yeah, that is, because that's why so many people are there, is to ask a question and get help and then get recognized for providing that help. And it's all, like you said, it's not competitive. It's a very friendly, sort of supportive atmosphere. But yes, mark it as helpful, mark it as answered. That's good. Cory, any tip for us?
I do find it competitive.
Oh, you do? Okay. Cory wants the points.
Yeah, I like pointing out when I pass one of my friends and points.
Good.
So, tips. Yeah, formulate your questions to the best of your ability. That's it.
That's it.
Ask good questions, and that doesn't mean ask complex questions or ask smart questions or anything. Just ask a good question. Know what you want to achieve. Explain it. Ask for help. That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Cory. There will be representatives of the community at the Knowledge Conference this year. I can't guarantee that it'll be one of these three folks sitting here with me, but there will be people from the community there. And I encourage anyone that is active on the community to go to the conference and find some of the other people that help you with your daily work and that you interact with, and find them live and in person, because that's going to make the ServiceNow community in person and online stronger and bigger. And also, of course, as always, for more information, you can consult our product documentation or the ServiceNow knowledge base, and always you can post a question in the community. So thank you. This has been another episode of ServiceNow Techbytes.